to introduce Christian. He's here to chat with us about using Cadence to power up the blocks editor. I'm super excited for this. Christian is a YouTuber, entrepreneur, and content creator from Nashville, Tennessee. His YouTube channel, CrailerMade, features content about WordPress, online tech, and entrepreneurship. Christian is passionate about sharing honest and easy to digest info, love that, with his audience of over 45,000 subscribers. His channel has received over 8.5 million lifetime views, so quite the feat. We'll bring him in. Hello, Christian. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Thanks for being here today. Super excited.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here, and I'm super excited to dive into this.
Cool. Okay, well, I'm going to give you the stage. I'll be backstage. If you need anything, feel free to just holler. And then anyone who's here live, we've had an audience all day, which is so fun. So those of you who are here, if you have questions for Christian along the road, just ask them, and then we'll save them for the end. All right, Christian, all you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. All right, let's see. Oh, cool. My screen shares automatically. That's amazing. Awesome. Well, today I would love to talk to everyone about using Cadence to power up the blocks editor. So I want to briefly cover what I'm going to show you today. So I will show you how you can use the Cadence theme and the blocks editor to unlock, or Cadence blocks rather, to unlock greater control of the blocks editor. So if you're anything like me, I'm certainly not a WordPress expert. I've sort of shied away from the blocks editor, felt like it's not powerful enough to accomplish what I'm trying to do. And when I started using Cadence last year, I really started to discover how much it can really supercharge the blocks editor. And it made me realize maybe I'm not, maybe I don't need to be using Elementor or Beaver Builder or some of the others. Not that there's anything wrong with those page builders, but Cadence can really help supercharge the blocks editor. So I'll show you that. I also want to show you how to use Cadence forms to build forms directly in the blocks editor. That's another thing that is super helpful. You can break away from Contact Form 7 and having to code HTML just to get your form layout and all that. So super excited for that. And then lastly, how you can add page elements like accordions and tabs that aren't natively available in the blocks editor. So who is this for? Well, I would say this is for primarily beginner and intermediate WordPress users who have dismissed the blocks editor as a viable option. So maybe you've tried it in the past, you've found it limiting, it just hasn't really worked with your use case. Take another look with Cadence and with Cadence blocks. You might be surprised at how powerful it is. I would say this could also be for users who are looking to simplify their workflow and reduce their reliance on third-party page builders. So if you want to embrace Gutenberg and the blocks editor, the direction that WordPress is moving in general, and sort of reduce your reliance on third-party plugins, this could be a great thing to adopt into your workflow. So, a little bit about me. I am a content creator with a passion for tech. I've been making videos on YouTube for over a decade, and I made my first WordPress related video 9 years ago. So, I am by no means a WordPress expert. I am someone who enjoys tinkering with WordPress, dabbling in web design. I've done some freelance client work in the past, but I was never an agency owner. I'm not a developer. So, many in the WordPress community are way smarter than I am with the technical details and really getting in there and customizing WordPress. But as a tech enthusiast, I enjoy playing around with WordPress, seeing what it has to offer. And that's why I was really surprised to see how much Cadence can really supercharge the blocks editor. And just to continue that, yes, I already said I'm not a WordPress expert. So my early use of WordPress mainly consisted of ThemeForce themes and WP Bakery. I really liked the sort of back-end wireframe type method for building pages. And, that's before Gutenberg came along with Tiny MCE. I never was really into Elementor or the front-end editors until about a year ago. I've started migrating to visual page builders, mainly the blocks editor and Elementor. And the blocks editor, my migration to that is directly thanks to Cadence, as you'll see later with the demos. I started using Cadence in 2023, and this year I released a course on building a WordPress site from start to finish using Cadence and the blocks editor. So, why Cadence? Well, there's a number of reasons. Up to this point, I've avoided the blocks editor because I didn't think it was advanced enough to make elaborate designs. And that's mainly because I was using 2023 or 2024. I would go in and just get frustrated, and it seemed like what I wanted to do wasn't possible. Cadence changed that for me. I'm now using the blocks editor for certain pages and websites in addition to Elementor. And one thing that's not noted on the slide here, but I think it's important to bring up, is Cadence has a wonderful free version. That's what I'll be using in this demo. That's what I use in my course. And that's what I use on my own websites. The pro version is also incredible and unlocks some extra features, but you can do everything that I'm going to show you in these demos with the free version of Cadence. I also like that Cadence gives you flexibility to choose your preferred page builder. So if you like Elementor, Beaver Builder, or Brizy, you can still use Cadence. Now, this whole presentation is specifically for the blocks editor, so most of these things you'll have to do differently in other page builders. But if you really like Cadence, and I'm a fan, you can use your other page builders with it as well. Okay, so I'd like to start with a demo of the page layout with Cadence blocks because this is sort of the foundation of why I think Cadence is so powerful and really supercharges the blocks editor. So I'm going to head over to my WordPress site and I've got a Cadence demo that I've imported, but I'm actually going to create a blank page. And if you've used the blocks editor before with the stock blocks, then you're used to all these blocks down here. For your layout, you've got buttons, columns, groups. So you can create some layouts in the blocks editor by default, but just to sort of contrast, I'm going to start with a columns block and we'll do 3 columns. And then I'm also going to add a row layout. This is a Cadence block and I will choose 3 for that as well. Let's just go with this design. We don't actually have equal thirds to start, but that's okay. So right off the bat, when I got into the blocks editor, remember this here, this is the default block in WordPress columns. One of the first things that I noticed was, well, how do I change the width of the blocks? Like after the fact, there's no easy way to drag and change it. Now, it is possible you can do it right here under settings width. You can specify a percentage if you want, and that changes the block. But then, you're sort of having to manually enter those percentages for each block. Now, with our row layout here in Cadence blocks, all I have to do is click and drag. Like that alone just blew my mind when I saw that feature. Makes it so much easier to set up your blocks. And this drag and drop capability applies throughout the rest of the interface. So for padding, right here, you can adjust, you can think of a row layout almost like a section on your website if you want to. So if I want to add more padding, I can do that right here, both on the top and bottom. And all of these settings are accessible via typing as well under style and layout and advanced, all these tabs. But I think it's super cool that right off the bat, you can do that just by clicking and dragging. You don't have to go in and type percentages on all 3 columns if you don't want to. Also, you can click this right here on this little arrow. So if it's got this little figure 8, then it snaps to increments of 5%, or you can click right here and you can move it to very precise percentages. So that's the first thing that I really noticed with Cadence blocks that made me wowed. And that concept applies throughout the rest of the row layout. So column gutter, I can easily adjust that right here. I can also enter a number in pixels if I want to. Same thing for row gutter. All things that if you've ever played around with default columns in the blocks editor, you don't have a lot of control. You can adjust padding here. It's just not quite as straightforward or intuitive as the Cadence block. And another thing, a big key takeaway for me with Cadence is that there are responsive settings for every single option. So, your layout can be different for desktop, tablet, mobile. Even so, like mobile, if you wanted to have this type of layout with two columns on top, one on the bottom, you could do that specifically for mobile. And then on desktop, you can have three side by side. With the default, you'll see there's this option to stack on mobile, but that's basically it. And if you're a developer, you're comfortable with CSS, you can go into the advanced options and add classes, and you can accomplish all of this with the default blocks. But, like I mentioned earlier, I'm an average user, someone who enjoys tech, but not a developer. So that's why I got very frustrated with the default blocks. And hopefully you're able to see right here just the value of cadence blocks and the row structure. So for every single setting, you'll see there's dedicated responsive options, which I'm a huge fan of. Now, within row layouts, we have sections. And one of the things I love about sections is you can customize everything with the content, the direction of your content, the alignment, also your text alignment. And once again, you can customize all of this on desktop, tablet, and mobile. And another thing I want to point out is you can set a background image, gradient, video, anything you want on a section level, as well as the row layout. If we go back to our default block, I just think it's kind of fun to show the contrast here. So for columns, I can set a background color. There's no easy way for me to set a background image. Now, if I wanted to set an image for a specific column, same thing. The only way that I would know to do that with the default option is you could use a group block, put it within the column, set your background image there, but that's just getting really complicated. So I love how Cadence approaches the page layout with row layouts being like your section where you can manipulate columns, and then your section is the equivalent of a column, super flexible. So that is the first thing that I wanted to point out. I'm just checking over my notes here. I think that's everything on the row layouts. So let me go back to my slides here. Ah, yes. So the next thing that I love about Cadence really supercharges the blocks editor is Cadence Forms. So as I brought up earlier, if you've ever used Contact Form 7 or some of the other contact form plugins that are popular in WordPress, you're always having to use a third-party editor, an outside editor somewhere else in the WordPress interface. And at best, it's usually drag and drop, pretty simple, but a separate screen that you have to go to. At worst, sometimes you're having to edit HTML just to customize your form, and that's no fun. So I'm going to go ahead and clear out our columns here. And in this middle section, I am going to create a Cadence form block. So in Cadence, there's the form block. There's also the form advanced block. I'm going to start with the regular forms block, and then I'll show you the advanced one after this and explain some of the differences. But right off the bat, just clicking form, I have a new form block here. I already have a contact form. I've already got a basic form with name, email, message. Now, for each of these fields, you can customize everything in the right sidebar. So, name, I can make this required if I want to, placeholder, all that. You can customize your field type. Also, super easy to add a additional field. So maybe I want to collect phone number. I'll just say phone number. And, as simple as this interface is and as easy as it is to build forms, it still allows you to do just about anything you would want to. For example, if I wanted email and phone to be side by side, all I have to do is on email, I can reduce the column width to 50%. I'm sorry, that was the phone field. I had email selected, but I was in the wrong one. But I would have to do that for phone as well. So you can see right here, phone number just went down to 50% width. And then for email as well, I can change this to 50% width. And then if I click this up arrow here on phone number, just like that, I've got email and phone number side by side. And as I pointed out earlier, a general pattern in Cadence is that there's responsive options for everything. So if I wanted these to be full width on mobile, I could set that option right here. And then if I preview these on mobile, it's not working in our demo, but on the live page, it would have email as a full width field and then phone under it as well. Now, if you wanted to add another field to your contact form, you could just do that with the add field button. We collapse these right here, and you can pick from email, text area, all these different options. Also, super simple to configure where this email is going to send. So, actions after submit, you could choose to subscribe them to your email list, or in most cases, you're just going to email it to yourself. So, I've got the email box checked here. Email settings, I can enter my email address that I would like to receive contact form submissions to. Subject, you can fill all that out, but I would always recommend setting up Google reCAPTCHA. Unfortunately, WordPress in general has a spam problem. If you're not using Akismet or reCAPTCHA or some sort of solution to help with that, you're going to get a lot of spam mail. So definitely would recommend setting up Google reCAPTCHA. It's free, and I'm so glad that that's included, even in the free version of the Cadence Forms block. Now, let's talk about the Cadence Forms Advanced block because that is really cool if you want a complex layout. So, essentially, what that block does is it moves your form into an entire layout of itself. So, right here, I've got Form Advanced. Within that, I've got a row layout. So, Cadence has auto generated a row layout with 2 sections. And just like I showed you earlier, you can adjust these sections in increments of 5%, or you could get really advanced with it if you wanted to by disabling the snapping right there. But as you can see, the Forms Advanced block allows you to put fields in specific sections of the website. So you could get as advanced as you wanted to with building this. And might I remind you, we're in the blocks editor right now. The same blocks editor that if you've used 2024 and just the stock blocks before and gotten frustrated and said, man, I feel like I can't do anything, this is that same editor. So hopefully you're beginning to see over these past 2 demos that the blocks editor is really powerful with Cadence. It's not necessarily the editor itself that is not capable. It's really that the default blocks included with WordPress just aren't advanced, aren't the most intuitive, and Cadence blocks really enable that power for you to do just about anything you want with your website. So I've typically just used the regular form block, but I just wanted to demonstrate that and sort of tie it back to earlier with the layouts, just to give you an idea of how much you can really do. And another thing with the advanced block is it also gives you access to the file upload field and the time field, which are not included in the basic form block. And keep in mind, all of this is available in the free version of Cadence. You can get even more features and more fields in the pro version. But even this advanced block that I'm demonstrating is available in the free version of the Cadence theme and Cadence blocks. So the third thing I want to point out is just the unique blocks that are available in Cadence that you aren't going to find in the default WordPress blocks. And there's a couple great examples of that. So let me just clear out our form here. And I'll go to browse. Accordion is going to be a very powerful block for most websites. If you've ever wanted to do an FAQ section on a website, you've tried to do that in the default blocks editor. Not easy, but with this block, you can have your title and you can add whatever blocks you want inside the the accordion. So, I've used these controls before in WP Bakery and other page builders, and it just gives you that tiny MCE interface where you can type text and it's perfectly fine for an FAQ section, but you can't really go above and beyond with your design. With this block, you can have an accordion that expands and you can have as many blocks as you want within it. So if you just want text, you just want to have an FAQ section, that's fine. You can do that. But if you want to have like a row and a background and animations and all this cool stuff, you could do that with the accordion control. Another thing that is similar to the accordion block that you may enjoy is tabs. So, same kind of idea here. You can have as many blocks as you'd like within a given tab. And that's another thing that you can't do in the default blocks that WordPress gives you. Whoops, let's undo that. I did not mean to delete my sections. Some more great examples, the countdown block, the count up block, those are both useful for landing pages, progress bar, that's pretty unique. Testimonials, that's another thing. You'd have to create a layout like that from scratch with the default blocks, but there's a testimonials block that makes sales pages and landing pages much easier to create. Also, hands down, my favorite block for creating layouts is the info box. This gives you a bunch of layouts and presets to pick from, and you can just customize it however you want. You can choose your icon, you can customize your text. This is super common under hero sections. You've got the 3 boxes that explain a little bit more about your company or your product, and it is super easy to do in Kadence blocks. So, some potential ways you could use Cadence blocks to supercharge the blocks editor. I've kind of already run through all these scenarios, but sales and promotion landing pages with the countdowns, testimonials, and info box, an FAQ page, collapsible FAQ section, form embeds without extra plugins. Cadence Forms is free. These are all examples of things that you could not do easily in 2024 and with the default blocks that you can do with Cadence blocks and the blocks editor. Okay, well, that was a very brief demo, but I have a slide here to open it up for Q&A if anyone has any questions. Let's see, I'm not sure how to see the chat.
Yeah, sorry, the chat is hidden, but it doesn't look like there's any questions right now. But do you want to keep going, or do you want me to ask some questions?
If you have questions, feel free. I mean, I kind of had a very brief demo there, just tried to think of some scenarios that would be
Perfect.
applicable to the real world. But yeah, if you have questions, go for it.
I love it. Well, first off, you're hired. That was amazing.
Thank you.
It's so fun to see people that aren't paid by Cadence or are outside of Cadence use it and love the product. It's so awesome. But yeah, I'm just curious more so about well, first off, when you started using Cadence, because that's just fascinating to me. And then yeah, I have a couple more questions I'd be happy to ask.
Cool. Yeah, I started using Cadence last year, and I was searching for a freemium WordPress theme that would enable users to do it all. Really having that choice in page builders was important to me because in my YouTube content in the past, I've been very heavy with WP Bakery themes. And that's because that was my preference. But I started to see, okay, not everyone likes that wireframe type builder for the front end. The WP Bakery visual builder is not the best, in my opinion. So I wanted a theme that could support blocks, Elementor, Beaver Builder, whatever people wanted to use. And that would allow me to explore different page builders as well. So I got started with Cadence, started experimenting with the blocks editor, and to be honest, I didn't even realize what Cadence was doing until I tried stock WordPress. Because I was like, wow, the blocks editor has come such a long way. This is incredible. I didn't know you could do all this. And then I went back to 2024 and went, oh, Cadence is really adding a lot here. This is awesome. But
awesome.
Yes, to answer your question, last year, that's when I started using Cadence.
Cool. I love it. That's awesome. Tell me more about what you do on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, so I make videos on online tech, SaaS products in general. I do a lot of comparisons and tutorials for website builders, hosting. A lot of it is WordPress content. So looking at themes, plugins, page builders, just anything that would help a small business owner get online. So, sometimes I cover other website builders as well, or email marketing tips and stuff like that. But there's a lot of crossover with WordPress.
Cool. How this is like kind of off topic a bit, but I'm curious, this was part of your bio, like if you have any tips and tricks as to how you grew your following, because that's a lot of our probably like Cadence community people watching today. I mean, anybody who has a website is trying to build their following. So just curious if you have any like tips and tricks as to what that looked like for you.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I saw Jamie's presentation earlier.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
that was incredible. He's got some great content and tips as well.
Yeah. I'm
But
curious if there was
um,
alignment there. You were like, yeah, I did that too, or,
yeah, I mean, the number one thing that I always tell aspiring creators is be consistent. Just start
Mhm.
creating content, upload weekly if you can, monthly, whatever it is, you just want to be consistent and don't let gear hold you back. A lot of people
Yeah.
get caught up in, oh, I need this expensive camera and lighting and this mic, and no one's going to watch my videos until I have that. People care
Uh,
so much more about the content, the story, your personality. They're way more invested in that over the camera quality and is your lighting good? Is it grainy?
yeah.
People can overlook that if they're enjoying the content. So be consistent. Don't worry about gear. Use your phone if you have to. That's just fine. Also,
Mm,
lost my train of thought. I was going somewhere else with that. Maybe it'll
totally
come
was.
back to me.
Yeah. Talking about gear. No, that's so wise. It's so much more is about a story. Like if you have a story to tell your story and everything else will come. But don't try and like make up a story because you have fancy gear.
For
But
sure.
that's why.
Absolutely.
What's the number one thing or number one like way that Cadence has helped you, or like one number one tool that you use? Like you only use blocks, or do you use any other Cadence products?
I mean, I use the Cadence theme in general, Cadence blocks. Those
Cool.
are my main two Cadence products that I use. I think the number one way it's helped is just efficiency. I can build pages a lot faster than I used to with WP Bakery and the backend method. I also love the flexibility because I use Cadence on one of my websites with Elementor where I wanted to get into really complex layouts. But
Mm,
sometimes I'll still use the blocks editor for certain pages if they just
mm,
don't need the complexity of Elementor. So just sort of giving me that choice within the same website and making the blocks editor accessible
mm.
has it's really sped up page design in general.
Yeah, cool. I love that. Well, Christian, where can people find you? What's your YouTube channel?
Yeah, I think I have one more slide here. I
Oh,
do, yes.
amazing.
My YouTube link is there,
Amazing.
youtube.com/CraylerMade. I'm at CraylerMade on all the socials. And this QR code goes to my link in bio page as well. So you can scan it, find everything there. Also, I should have made a slide for this. I did not, but I have two full courses on building both a regular WordPress site with Cadence and a WooCommerce store with Cadence. Those are at
Cool.
Academy, and they're entirely free. You just sign up with your email. You can go through the full course. So if you want to see like a full page build and some tips and tricks on managing WordPress sites in general, you can find it all in those courses.
Amazing. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate you taking the time today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. And I apologize we're so under on time. I didn't know how long those demos were going to take, but
Totally. It's always so hard to know, but that's great. We'll give everybody a little break since we didn't have a break last time. So give everyone a chance to grab a snack, grab some coffee, and then come back. But yeah, thank you, Christian. This was really, really great. Appreciate you.
you're welcome. Thanks so much.